marketing, we have a full-time jobs, but if those jobs are not as fulfilling, a lot of us have that craving, that yearning for a side gig, a passion project, if you will. So I meet so many women in marketing who have that. And so I thought it would be incredibly important and useful for us to have um, a presentation from a brand specialist to talk about personal branding. Um, so the great thing to know is that if you're a member of MarketHER, you don't have to do it alone. We're here as a group of supporters to help you see your blind spots, all of that. We know that in personal branding, some of the things that our challenges are, pinholing ourselves or struggling to maintain that authenticity, overselling ourselves, or even the struggle of trying to remain a person and not becoming a brand, right? So all of those challenges are some of the things that Coach Toni will be speaking to us about, addressing for us. So if you have any questions, definitely think about your questions through the presentation and then ask your questions at the end. We'll open the forum for that. So without further ado, Coach Toni, you have our attention.
Yes, this is exciting. I'm excited. I have my own little record session over here. Okay, once I start my presentation, I won't be able to see anything. So if you all want to burst in and you have a question, that's fine too. You can totally
Okay,
burst in.
great.
But my name is Toni Brown. I am the owner of Sky Media Group, which is a digital and branding agency in Baltimore. I have been a designer for about 13 years. And about 6 years ago, I decided to really niche down to brand strategy and messaging. So while I still uh, design, of course, as a part of what I do, brand strategy is at the core of everything that I do. Today, I'm going to be talking about the power of personal branding, and I'm about to share my screen. All right. Okay. So can you all see my screen?
Yes, we see your screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the power of personal branding. So I've mentioned a little bit about myself in the beginning. I do consider myself a tough love brand coach in that when I work with women, I support them, but also give them gentle nudges in the direction that they want to go in. I'm not necessarily a coach that um, holds holds back anything because I really care about the clients and the women that I work with. Most of the time, my clients are corporate women who want to make an impact inside and outside of their workplace. So far as with VPs, managers, directors, they want to transform who they are and turn it into a commodity, an asset, if you will. And after 20 years of being in corporate America, I rediscovered my love for design and entrepreneurship 11 years ago. Well, 13 now. And realized that Sky Media Group, as me being Sky Media Group's owner, it didn't allow me to really come from behind the services that I provided. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as the presentation goes on. But today, with the talk of the power of personal branding, it's going to help you to understand the importance of personal branding and how to lay the foundation for yours. I think that it's important that when you're building a brand that you always look at the foundation of everything, just like with the house. Before you can put a roof on anything or before you know where the kitchen is going to be, you need a solid foundation. And so I always like to build from the ground up when it comes to whether it's a website, a brand, or any type of messaging or strategy. It's always from the ground up. I love this quote from Brene Brown that says, "Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen." And at the core of being someone with a personal brand, the core of that word is person. And so you have to show up as that person whenever you are speaking about your expertise or whatever the case might be. But it's nerve-wracking. It's very nerve-wracking to show up as yourself and to be authentic and to allow yourself to be up for scrutiny and things like that and just to put yourself out there. But my hope is that through this presentation that you will start to think about how you can be someone with a personal brand that's authentic, honest, and just just showing the great person that you are. Okay. But first, what is a brand? So this is not my definition. This is the definition by Marty Neumeyer. Well, a portion of the definition by Marty Neumeyer, who's known as the godfather of branding. So a brand is a set of associations or perceptions that a person or group of people have about a company or individual. A brand can be intentional and orchestrated, or it can be haphazard and left up to chance. I really favor a brand that's intentional and orchestrated versus one that is haphazard. So I won't be able to see your comments, but in the comments, if you can let me know if you appreciate brands that are intentional, orchestrated, or if you like when brands are haphazard and left up to chance. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but just to get a little bit interactive with you guys. So a brand is not your logo, website, business name, tagline, motto, your building, your architecture, your interior design, your photos, products, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook account, and most importantly, your brand is not about what you think. Your brand is about what other people think of you. Okay? And usually people think that your brand is something visual, but when somebody says brand, it's really like a manifestation of a whole bunch of things that merge into one. So yes, your logo is a part of your brand, your website is a part of your brand, your products are a part of your brand, but it's not your brand in totality. It's just a portion. So today we're going to talk about personal branding and why you need a personal brand as a service provider. What are some of the ingredients of a personal brand? How to communicate your personal brand and assessing your own personal brand, and then there'll be room for Q&A. So do we have any questions? Are we together at this point? Remember, I can't see you, so I'm totally relying on you to let me know so you can jump in if you like.
I'm with you.
Okay. All right. So, what is a personal brand? It's you. As I mentioned, the base of that word personal is person, and that person is you. You're a personal brand. So, everything you say and do is perceived by someone who forms an opinion about who you are. And so that's one of the reasons why it's important to have a brand that is intentional so that you can steer opinions in the way of how you really want to be seen. You don't want, even though people do it anyway, of course, but you want to orchestrate what people think of you in the public as much as possible. And there are many ways that you can do it. But just knowing that your personal brand really encompasses everything that you say or do about what you do and who you are and so forth and so on. Again, the why a personal brand is good, or what is a personal brand, why is it good? Because you want to shape the perception that your audience has of you. So it's important that when you are promoting who you are, when you want to come from behind your expertise, when you want to be known for something, it's important that you intentionally package what you're good at, your expertise, so that you can position yourself as an authority. Now, there are many authorities in a specific industry and everything, but that's not what you focus on when you're building a personal brand. You're focusing on you. It's your personal brand. It's not anybody else's, it's yours. So you focus on what makes you, what makes you an authority, whether it's your experience, your expertise, your education, or something along that lines. So why is personal branding powerful for your business? Let's learn why. because it differentiates you from others, and it's the key to making sure that you are recognized as a leader and an authority. And a lot of times as women, we shy away from being known as a leader or an authority, and we're like, oh, we don't know everything about the thing that we know about. But that's okay, because your audience probably won't know as much as you know about what you know about your expertise. So it's okay to call yourself a leader. You are a leader. You're a leader in your expertise, in your education, in your experience. Nobody can take that away from you. So if you are fearful of being called a leader or being an authority of some sort, I'm here to tell you it's okay. You are a leader. Nobody is you. You are that person. Okay. Being seen as a leader and an authority is important because it gets you booked and busy. It grants you more exposure. It allows your voice and story to be heard, and it opens up the door to opportunities. And so when somebody can see you as a leader in whatever your thought leadership topic is, or whatever your topic is, they will come to you for that thing. And you won't be it's not a situation where, oh, my competition is doing the same thing. Well, your competition is still not you. See, that third point allows your voice and your story to be heard. And each of us has a story that many people can benefit from. And so when people look at you as that leader and authority in maybe 40-year-old woman who got a divorce and now she is teaching women how not to be divorced at 40, whatever your leadership topic is, that can be your experience and what you're known for. And there's so many women that have that exact same story who will absolutely book you. So that's why it's important to be seen as that leader and authority, and to make sure you're using your voice in your story and being heard. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so personal brands. I'm pretty sure we know these people. Definitely know Rihanna. Um, I mean, her name is on everything, even, Fenty Beauty, her cosmetics, everything. We know Rihanna. Tabitha Brown, we know her for her fun-loving personality. She's natural, she's bright. Marie Forleo is an industry leader when it comes to small business and working with women and men around the world. And one of my personal favorites, Lenny Kravitz. Everybody knows Lenny, but he's one of my personal favorites. I had to throw him in here. So all of these people are examples of personal brands because their name alone is money. When Tabitha Brown shows up at an event, she might have a 5-minute part, but because she's showing up, so many people are going to come just to see her. Lenny Kravitz, he has an interior design line. I forgot the name of it, but his personal brand the interior design is an extension of his personal brand. Even though it's not music, it's still about him. And so when your name is attached to you being a leader and authority in something, your name alone can have people wanting you to speak on their stages or work with their audience or whatever the case might be. Okay, so the first on the agenda is we're going to learn why you need a personal brand as a service provider. In business, you can either be an order taker or a trusted partner. And when I say order taker, I mean when you go to a restaurant and somebody's taking your order. So you can either be that person that people give bits and pieces of jobs to, or give you tasks to perform, as opposed to being a trusted partner. And so how you show up and how you handle your brand determines whether you're an order taker or a trusted partner, whether you're trading time for money, or if you are a trusted partner, and how you show up and what type of value you add to the rooms or the spaces that you're in. So there are it's a lot of differences, but there are 3 differences in being an order taker versus a trusted partner. First, an order taker trades time for money. So that's the person that gets paid by the hour. Even if they have 15 years of experience, they say, oh, an hour worth of time with me is $50. Well, that's an order taker. You're trading time for money. Whereas when you're a trusted partner, you're getting paid based on your value and results. So it doesn't matter if it only takes you 30 minutes to do what would take somebody 2 hours to do. That 30 minutes The fact that you're an expert is the reason why it only takes you 30 minutes. You shouldn't be penalized because you're quicker due to your experience versus somebody who does not have as much experience, who takes longer to do. So when you look at yourself as a trusted partner, you can charge more by the hour. So it goes from 50 to 250, all because of how you're positioning yourself or positioning your personal brand. Secondly, an order taker obeys without difference of opinion. And so, because an order taker is so concerned about if this company or person is going to fire me if I voice my opinion, they just kind of shrink back. Whereas a trusted partner innovates and creates the best solution. So, a good example of this is when someone is an influencer, they the company will give them a creative brief and give them flexibility to institute or create based on that influencer's creativity, personality, and so forth. They're not just saying we need 3 social media posts and we're going to pay you $150 an hour. And we want it done like this. See, that's not when you're a personal brand and when you're coming forth with value and results. You just obeying without an opinion does not really add to you being that leader or authority. The last is that as an order taker, you work for a client. So they are your boss. Because they're paying you, you have to do what they say and you have to get paid this amount. Whereas when you're a personal brand and you own your expertise, you're not working for the client, you're working with them. It's a collaboration. You're working together. They need you because of your expertise and whatever your focus is, paired with their company to create that partnership. So you all need each other. So you're working with the client. And that's a huge difference when you have a personal brand. Second, the ingredients of a personal brand. So you're a multifaceted woman, but you struggle to define your brand because you're good at so many things, and also because you might be a mother, a wife, a sister, a best friend. Women, we're all the things. So when we want to try to package what we want to be known for, we struggle because we really can be good at so many things. But you may be confused as to where to start or what aspects of yourself that you want to hone in on. So let's learn more about those ingredients. But first, one of my favorite quotes that I learned from one of my brand coaches, he said, before you brand yourself, you have to know yourself. So before you can put yourself out there and have a voice and be heard and have a message, you have to know who you are. You have to know your values, your morals, your principles, what you'll stand for, what you won't stand for, how you want to be seen. You have to know yourself first, because what you're going to find is somebody that's finding their self in the public eye. Now, we grow and we expand and emerge in different ways, but you don't want to fumble in the public eye just because you don't know yourself. So it's important that you know yourself before you brand yourself. So the first way that you can get to know yourself is you can answer or really figure out what your passion is. So what do you care about? And what do you want others to care about? What can you talk about for hours? What do you wake up and think about? What do you think about when you go to sleep? What is that thing that you just would do if nobody paid you? That's what your passion is. And it can be more than one thing. And sometimes when we're multi-passionate, we struggle with trying to converge those things. But when you hone in on your message, you might find that even though you're multi-passionate, your passions will cross one another. Your values. Again, what do you stand for? What don't you stand for? Your values will help direct the decisions that you make. And so if you know that you're a dog lover and you don't like cats, then you won't want to work with a cat company, for example. But just knowing what you stand for and what you don't stand for will keep you out of spaces that you don't want to be in, and it'll push you more towards spaces and people and opportunities that you want to align yourself with. Like for example, early on in my design career, I used to have people that wanted me to design club flyers. And for a while it was okay, but then the club flyers started getting like explicit in nature. They wanted, naked women on the flyers. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So because I knew that that's not something that I stood for. Now, if other people wanted to do that, that was fine, but it just wasn't a me thing. So that allowed me to move away from designing for that type of industry and pushing me more into those more just those other platforms or those other areas that I wanted, where I wanted to work with different types of people. And your vision, number 3. So what's the big picture of why you want to amplify your personal brand? Like, why is it important that people know you, know your message, your voice? Why is that important? When you have that big picture vision, it will tide you over when you may feel uncertain or like you want to give up. Your vision and knowing the bigger picture of why you're doing what you're doing will keep you stable when those times get rough, because they do. There can be ups and downs when it comes to building your personal brand. And then what are you looking to accomplish with your brand, your personal brand? What are the results that you want people to feel? What are the transformations that you want people to feel when they encounter you? If you're speaking on a stage or podcasting or in an interview or working with a client or doing some type of corporate workshop, what do you want people to accomplish, or to how do you want them to transform after hearing you? It's great to stand in front of a room full of people and talk, but what do you want them to, what's the takeaway? And really sometimes the takeaway is the same across the platform because it does feed into your bigger vision. Okay. Personality. So being a multifaceted woman, some, some days I'm happy, I'm sad, I don't feel like it, I'm tired. Just different personalities. I can be sweet, I can be sour. I mean, this is just the truth. And with women, it's the same. We're faceted. So we have to decide what side of our personality do we want to hone in on. What do we want our public facing persona to be? Having a personal brand, sometimes we think, oh, we have to tell everybody everything about ourselves. We have to tell them all our secrets. Well, no, you don't. And you can still feel close to people, your audience can still feel close to you without you revealing any personal details, just with your personality. Are you down to earth, friendly, serious? Um, you know, um, do you have like, what's the word? Do you have like a Lux type of vibe? And all of that pairs with your unique sales advantages. So what makes you different and special from anybody else? What combination of your personality can works best with your expertise? And then how can you combine your expertise and your personality to still be authentic, but develop a persona for yourself that your audience feels, that your audience can connect with? For example, when I'm designing for my clients, I want to know who their audience is because I'm really designing for their audience. I'm designing for them, but I'm designing for their audience because it's the audience that's going to hire and connect with my client. My client is not going to buy from themselves. So I like to design for the audience. Okay, your message. So what's your overarching message? Your message is not everything that you say about your business. It's not, everything that you say about your expertise. It is a well crafted and curated uh, message, short form and long form, about who you are, why you're here, how your experience qualifies you to work with a particular audience. And then in your messaging, you want people to know about you, your experience, your why, your skills. All of these are answering specific branding and marketing questions. It's not telling everything about yourself or everything about your expertise. And then your audience. Who do you want to serve? Who are you talking to? And how will they be impacted by your personal brand? It's very important that we understand who our audience is, because a lot of times our audience have similar problems and challenges the way that we do. That's a big reason why some of us go into business, is because we couldn't find something in the market, and instead of given up. We just created it ourselves and realized that there are other people who need the same thing. So it's the same thing with your personal brand. There are other people who can benefit from your message, your story, your values, your mission, and you create an avatar around that person. And everything that you do, every picture, content, social media post, your website, your copy is talking directly to that person. And then monetization methods. How will you monetize your personal brand? You have to decide if you're going to be a speaker, if you're going to do consulting, if you are going to be some type of influencer, if you're going to work with corporations with your expertise, if you're going to write a book, if you're going to create digital products, if you're going to create a course, all of these things add to your monetization methods. And you don't have to do all of them. Some of them you might not even want to touch. For example, with me, I don't want to touch being a course creator or writing a book. I am okay with not doing those things, but there might be something that you want to do. So with your personal brand, you want to make sure that you understand where your money is coming from as well. Okay. So before we go on to the next section, does anybody have any questions? I know Natalie has a question session for the end, but I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page and that um, um, nobody had a question before we move forward.
I don't see any questions in the chat box, Toni. So I'm with you. I think we're all just taking it all in.
Okay, thank you. All right. So this quote, so if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. It reminds me of that quote where it says, what is it? Jill of all trades, master of none. It's kind of the same thing when it comes to your audience and who you're talking to. And so that brings us to the third, how to communicate your personal brand. If so, there's also another quote, and it says, "If you build it, they will come." But when it comes to personal branding, that doesn't work. If you build it, they will not come. You have to communicate your personal brand, your value, the transformation that you incite, your results. And so once you've developed the ingredients for your personal brand, it's important for you to consider how you're going to communicate and manage your personal brand. That's why sometimes personalities like the ones that we saw, Rihanna, Tabitha Brown, Lenny Kravitz, they have publicists, they have PR firms, they have people to help them manage their brand. But if you don't have the budget or you are unsure about a publicist, and you don't need one, but if you want to manage your own brand and communicate your own brand, that's perfectly fine. So one way that you can manage your own brand and communicate your brand is through storytelling. I know when I thought about storytelling, my thing was, I'm just living my life. I don't have any stories. But once you really sit back and take note of your life and how the experiences and things in your life have happened to bring you to where you are, to where you even want to have a personal brand, you'll realize you have way more stories than you even realize. And so the type of stories that I'm talking about are the stories that you can share consistently and that provides insight into your personality, your background, and expertise. What is it about you that got you to where you are? What is it about your background that got you to where you are? And for me, this is part of my story. So I am a mother. My daughter is 22. And when I started Sky Media Group, I did not want her to be a latchkey kid. I wanted to be home when she opened that door. I wanted to take her to school, pick her up. I wanted to be present for school functions. I wanted to be that mom. And so that's part of my story when I'm talking in my messaging or on social media or even speaking like this. I talk about being how my way of rearing my child was very important for me. I'm also a corporate dropout. I spent about 20 years in the corporate field of specifically legal, and I wanted to do something else. I feel like I didn't have a life. I would look out the window and see other people walking around the street, and it's like people actually are outside during the day. E- Everybody's not at work like me, huh? So after a while, I just I told my boss, I said, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to college. I want to learn. I had already graduated from college, but I wanted to take some courses. I wanted to take some design courses. And he said, okay. After that, when I moved to Baltimore, I had to leave that job because that job was a little bit too far. And I got a few other jobs, but they were not what I wanted to do. And so about, I guess, 13 years, 10, no, I don't know how long it was. It was over a decade. I just said I'm not going to work in a corporate. I'm not going to work at a 9 to 5 job at somebody's office anymore. Now I'm okay with working at home, but I just did not want to be in anybody's office. Me getting divorced in 2018 was really the shift that made me start thinking more about myself, because I had spent so many years thinking about my ex-husband and not enough about me. And so I said, now I can finally be a personal brand. Now I can finally come from behind Sky Media Group in my business and be front facing. Now I can not worry about somebody being jealous and all those other things. And even though this picture is like one of sadness, it really should have been one of happiness, because from that point I was just completely happy. And I talk about that because there are a lot of women like me who spent years taking care of other people, and so when it comes to their personal brand, they don't realize how special they are. And then me being a black sheep, this is this is one of my old school pictures, and I couldn't put the entire picture in there, but my hands are folded and I had on a bunch of rings. I think I was like 9 or 10 in this picture. Just big attitude, but I was just so sure of myself. That eyebrow being raised definitely let you know that I was sure about myself, and you couldn't tell me anything. And that's kind of how I am now, even though I'm learning to be, more humble, and I listen now. And I mean, but I still have very strong opinion about things, and that carries into my business. As I mentioned before, I'm a tough love brand coach, and while I don't force my clients to do anything. When fear sets in, it's time for me to encourage them and remind them, why we're doing this anyway. So these fun facts about me really add to my story. And a lot of times on social media, whenever I'm telling a story, it's a nuance or an aspect of one of these aspects of my life. But there's more to me, but this these 4 areas of my life really impacted me to go into what I do today. Okay. So secondly, client management. What does your acquisition process look like? What does experiencing you and your brand feel like? So I work with clients and I have an onboarding process, and I have a couple of things that are automated in the beginning. Your acquisition and process might be your assistant answering your phone and scheduling your meetings, or you doing it yourself, or whatever the case might be. But having a way to manage clients and opportunities definitely shows how polished you are. If you have a newsletter sign up or anything where you can send out automated information or whatever the case might be, it really shows how polished you are. It means that you have a process and you're not just off the cuff with every time somebody has a request for you. Somebody requests you to speak and you have this process or that process. Having a real client management and experience helps you to be less stressed and more polished as someone with a personal brand. Okay, and now tone and mood. So how does your voice when you speak? I mean, how does your voice sound when you speak? What emotion does your voice and the words you use convey about you to your audience? So when it comes to your messaging really formulates your messaging. And so you'll with your tone and your mood, and you'll find that you'll kind of say the same things over and over again because it's part of your messaging. So with me being a tough love brand coach, that's something that I say, and that's part of the vocabulary for me. And then the sound of your voice. Are you using inflection? Do you talk in a monotone robot? And if that's how you talk, that's fine. That's you. Okay. You don't need to change that to fit in different spaces. Sometimes, excuse me, your voice will be more animated, or it'll be very serious and you really want to make a point, and so all of that is a part of your personal brand. it helps people to see how consistent you are. So one day you're not, super excited and talking 1,000 miles a minute to like talking really slow. Like that's not consistent. So developing your tone and mood is also important. And then your design and visuals, one of my favorite things. What style of design and visuals influence your personal brand? I like to get inspiration, and I'm sure we all know about Pinterest, and Pinterest is my friend. So whenever I have new visuals or some type of campaign that I want to institute, I will go to Pinterest and start pinning ideas. And after a while, I'll start to see consistencies and patterns among the things that I post. Also, what type of visuals will you need to define your brand? Do you need headshots, brand photos, videos, product photography, food photography? Like, what types of visuals do you need? Do you need voiceovers? And what does your digital and social content look like? That's where the idea of branding and visual identity comes into place. When you go to somebody's social media feed, are the colors consistent or are they all over the place? Do their social media colors match their website colors? And it should be consistent. But all of those things really speak to how much you care for yourself and your audience, how you want them to experience you, and then how do you present in person? Um, when I work with clients, I like and we do photo shoots. I like to make sure that the same colors that their visual identity is the same colors that they wear. So if they don't have yellow in their identity, then they won't be wearing yellow, because when you put these things on your website, on your social media, you want everything to be in harmony and to be consistent. And then also, how do you present in person? When you're speaking, do you have on the same colors? Black is one of my brand colors. My wall turquoise is one of my brand colors. It's just consistent, because you are your brand. And when you position yourself and hone things and hone your qualities in, you will find that even when you look around your home, perhaps that your personal brand might be in your home, your personal brand colors might be evident, it might be in your closet. You want to be comfortable, you don't want to pretend to be something. So when you're presenting in person or coming up with your brand style, start with the things that you already have. Look in your home, see the colors that you like. What colors might your audience be attracted to? What type of visuals would your audience be attracted to? Okay. So here are 3 tips for communicating your brand. Talk about what your audience cares about and show them you can assist them. So when you're sharing your message should really be human centered and audience centered, and talk about things that they care about. What are their struggles? What are their challenges, their pain points? What do they really want out of life? And then when you talk about that, show them how you can assist them and get them to meet their goals. You also want to identify parts of your story that connect with your audience. And so I shared some of my fun facts, and I would definitely think about your story, your life. How did you get here? Like Deborah Cox song says, how did you get here? Okay. And then the last, create visuals and content that appeal to your audience. So it's like, I like the color pink. I have pink things in my closet. I love red. I have red in my closet. I love orange. But when I wanted to think about the personality that I wanted to hone in on, and that person that part of myself that I wanted to show, that person is somebody that likes black, white, silver, and teal, and brown. That's that person. That's the person that likes leather and lace and patterns on their clothes. That's not the person that wears pink, orange, and red, even though I have that. So and because that's just how I play with color, that has worked well when it comes to my clients, because they know that I can design bold graphics and designs. So just make sure that you create visuals and content that not only you got to like it, but your audience has to like it even more. Okay. Now, how do you assess your personal brand? So you want to audit and evaluate your current brand and see if there are areas in your current brand that needs improvement or that you want to double down on. And it's important that when you make moves, they're strategic. And I say that because a lot of times women, we say, oh, we want to rebrand. And rebranding to them means getting a new logo. Well, we already discussed, and I'm sure you all might know that a rebrand doesn't just involve a new logo. You rebrand because there's something significant that has happened in your business or in your life, and you're kind of either doing an entire pivot or you're pivoting some, and what you currently have up doesn't reflect not only where you are now, but where you want to be. So, how do you know if your brand is on point? Well, you can ask me. So I have this personal brand checklist that I can send to whomever. If you DM me on Instagram with the word audit, I will send it to you. See, that was a trick. I didn't have any tips for you. I think that it's important that you self audit, and that I can't necessarily I think it's something for you to do for yourself. You know your vision, you know where you want to go. And when you look at the things that you have, seeing if it matches, if you have to do more of something or less of something else, then, I think it's important for, us to understand the gaps in our brand. And so that's why I made this checklist. So, questions and answers. Questions, you have questions, and hopefully I have answers.
That was awesome, Toni. Thank you so much. I did put that. I put Coach Toni Brown in the chat so that people can find you on Instagram. Is that okay? Okay, that's your handle. So in the word audit. Great. I see one question in the chat box that says, Toni, would you encourage clients to wait until they have their brand all figured out before they get started, or start sooner than later?
I will start sooner than later, because as soon as you put yourself out there and say that you're somebody that is, and even if you don't say that you're an expert, people will automatically think that you know what you're talking about, because you're putting yourself out there as somebody who has a voice and a message and they want to be heard. So as soon as you do that, I wouldn't give people the opportunity to decide for me and perceive me how I don't want to be perceived. And I don't think any of us have it all figured out. Like, I've been doing this for a while, and I'm still like, I have to do a photo shoot and I just don't know what I'm going to shoot. So, and
Yeah.
yeah, so none of us have it figured out, but I think that, yeah, absolutely, there should be some type of thought or strategy behind how you show up online, because if it's not, you might lose people. If you're showing up and it's not consistent, they might automatically think, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about because this is not consistent, or she is this way one day and then the next day she's in another way. So I do think that being intentional about how you show up online in the beginning can save you a lot of pain and stress.
Mm-hmm.
And money, because then you don't have to, if you decide to work with somebody, then you won't have to figure it out. They can help you.
Great. I think it's a great point, because a lot of us may already know how we like to present ourselves to the public. Like, we have one way that we are with our close friends and family, but another way that we present at work. So
Mm-hmm.
with that in mind, it's like, if you can kind of like pull that identity together for your website and when developing your colors and your logo and everything, and that gives you a place to get started. Like you said, that's one of the takeaways. Another question I see in the chat box is, I have multiple things I'm passionate about. How do I figure out which passion to focus on for my personal brand?
Mm-hmm. I would see if any of those passions cross. There are some passions, like, I love plants. I have a ton of plants in my home. Um, But sometimes plants will show up in my content when I'm talking about growth and leaves, when I'm making examples, but I'm not going to be like a plant master. So, because they're not close enough in relation to make sense when you try to weave it in. So I think that if your passions are relative, maybe they're cousins, they don't have to be twin sisters, but maybe if they're just in the same sphere of just sense, I would think that you can combine a few to make like this power brand, because that would be special, because not too many people would, like say if I did, just example, not too many people would say, I'm a plant mama and I brand, and I want to work with greenhouses, and like, that's really nuanced. So I think that if you have multi passions that you can kind of mesh together, that it'll make you even more of a like a make you more sought after, because nobody's
Mhm.
doing it.
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds great. I agree with that. Like it would definitely help you to find your audience and also maintain your authenticity, be true to yourself, and let your personality really come out as you talked about through your presentation.
And
So
and
I,
oh, I'm
Mhm.
sorry. And you know what? I just had another thought. And all of your passions don't have to be front facing in your brand, because your personal brand, you are your personal brand. Anything that you want to come up with really can kind of go. I mean, it's just especially if it makes sense. But like, for example, I love um spy dramas and like crime shows. So from time to time, I will make content around that makes sense. So I will, post. I watch shows sometimes, and they're talking about like the unsub or the criminal, and they have a fraudulent web page, and the web page looks awful. So, and it makes me laugh. So I'll stop on the stories and say, "Look at this, y'all. I just want to show y'all what a bad website is looking like." And then, so, but it's not a part of my brand as something that I would make money off of, but it's you're branding yourself in a creative way, because you're
Mhm.
meshing, things that you care about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It makes you. All
Hmm.
right, see another question. It says, and so this is something that we talking about a lot in the marketer group about work-life balance. Marketing is so demanding, and having a side gig more demanding, and
Oh my
even
gosh.
with yourself as a business owner full time. So the question is, how do you manage your time? Can you talk to us or walk us through your strategy for organizing your personal and work-life balance?
I try to keep a schedule, and I try not to deviate from that. And I have alternatives. So the three most important things in my life is my spirituality, it is my work, and it is self-care. So any combination of those two of those things in one day is enough for me. So for examples, Wednesdays is the day that I do not work at all. Even though I work kind of low key in the office, I'm usually outside doing things that, that are my self-care. Um, like on a Monday, I'll say, okay, I'm going to tend to my spirit early and into the afternoon. And then after that, I'm going to work. Or then after that, I'm going to go to the gym. So I don't exert myself. I think that I don't do too much. Um, I do the most with the least. That's what I always say. I want to do the most with the least. Um, and I don't exert myself. Because
Yeah,
it'll get done. So I don't exert myself. Not in that way. Of course, if there are deadlines and things like that, that's something different. But to help me work life balance, I do two of those things a day.
So I have a side question to that. At what point did you develop that? You said that you really your personal business took off. I think you said 2018, and it's
Hmm.
just 2023 now. So when did you come to that point where it's just like, did you ever have that epiphany, like I'm overdoing it, or things are not balanced? This isn't healthy for me.
Yeah, when I was staying up until 5 o'clock in the morning working on designs, knowing that I needed to get up at like 10. Like it was outrageous. When I started to see designer bags form underneath of my eyes, and I'm only 43, so it doesn't come from age. It doesn't. It comes from not getting sleep. I think when I saw my health suffering, when I was irritable because I wasn't getting enough sleep, when I would eat in front of my computer, I'm like, hold on, I left corporate America. Why am I eating at my computer? So I make it a point that unless I'm eating like a little snack or something like that, I will go downstairs and I will eat at my table. I will take, I will play a game on my phone. I might scroll on TikTok. I might read a portion of the Bible. It's me time when I'm eating. So I think that when my health was and my personality was kind of suffering, that's when I said, "Oh no, I'm not doing this because I don't have a boss. So why am I
Yeah.
acting like I do?"
Right.
Yeah.
All right, I see another question. Does a personal brand last forever, or do you need to update it from time to time? And when would those times be?
Yeah. So there was, I think created a post, I don't remember, but I think that is because women are so multifaceted. Um, who you were maybe with your personal brand at 30 is not who you are with your personal brand at 35 or 40. There's growth in there. And so because you might have gotten remarried, you might have had a baby. Now instead of being an influencer for fashion, now you want to be an influencer for baby fashion because you had a baby. So when you have those big changes in your life and you see personal transformation, more than likely it's going to play out in your brand. So I think that it's good that women reinvent themselves every couple of years. If I can think, yes, 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 yeah. I was thinking about my own, just myself. For example, in my pictures, I used to take pictures, my brand pictures, in front of a computer because I had to show that I was a serious designer and graphic designer. So I must take pictures in front of a computer. Now I refuse. I did take some in my house, but it was just to show my office and to show how I work. But the last photo shoot I had was in Louisville, and I had on different outfits, and we were walking around, taking in the sights because part of my growth as a woman is now I get to travel. And
Mhm.
so, that's one of the benefits of working for yourself or at least having some type of flexibility is that you get to travel. So every time I go to somewhere, for the most part, I will either take my photographer with me or I will hire a photographer in the area to capture my life. And that is like a trajectory for the next phase of my attitude, my personality, and how I want to come across. So
That makes a lot of
no,
sense.
so no, your personal brand doesn't stay the same forever because you don't.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes so much sense. Well, I know I have like tons of other questions bouncing around in my head. I
Good
guess if
questions. Those are good questions. I should have wrote those questions down. Can you send me those questions?
I absolutely will send them to
Please.
you.
Those are
And
good
so, in
questions.
one, if you could just share like an idea, I think that we've kind of touched on it, but a lot of people, and this is really why I wanted to bring in a brand coach to speak to marketers, right? Because I mean, it's almost like that thing like when a hairdresser is like does her own hair the last, or a mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
his wife's car is like the last one to get service and such. So marketers, it can be that way, and I know for myself when I look outside at a brand, it's so easy. It's easier for me to get the bird's eye view and then hone it in and lay it all out for them. But for myself, it's harder,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just talking to someone like yourself and like just getting sort of like a template as you spoke, that's what you provided for us, a template to put this together for ourselves, which I think is so necessary. But I was wondering like, if you can think of one client that had a real struggle to find their voice, somebody that just couldn't, as you said, like just find that authentic voice for themselves. So you seem to speak very passionately when you're talking about like you are a leader, like don't be shy about that because you are yourself. So I can tell that's something you probably encounter a lot, right? So what's the case?
So I have a couple instances, but I'm going to talk about the client who actually took my advice, because I have ones that don't take my advice and then realize they should have took it after they've spent money on other things. So a client that I'm working with now, she is an absolute expert with tax and accounting. She knows her stuff, and she's been doing it for about like 10 years or so. Um, but she um, but she just struggled. She has struggled with coming from behind her business. Um,
Mhm.
and after, I wrote out her messaging and I, encouraged her. I'm like, you've been doing this for years. You know your stuff. It doesn't matter what degree or whatever you have or whatever the case might be. Um, and I think just through each phase of brand development that we went through, she's become more and more confident. And since we're still working together, we do, there, we're about to start creating reels for her. She has been notorious with not showing up on camera, but she had her first video, her first brand video during the process that we had. So she saw how well that turned out. Now, with everything else, she's just getting more and more comfortable. I also like to remind my clients of their goals. So it's like you want to be seen this way, but you're doing this. You say you want this, but you're doing this. Though, if you keep doing this, you're not going to get to this. Now, if you want to stay like this, you can stay like this, but you're not going to get to where you are. So I always try to keep the goals and the audience in the front. You said you're doing this because of these people, but then you're not showing up this way. So is it really about them or is it about you? So just having those, that's what I mean when I say tough love. It's having those conversations. I'm not telling you, I'm not, putting down the iron fist. I'm just helping you to appreciate different things about what we discussed.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Tough love is necessary. Otherwise, you tiptoe around everything and don't say what really needs to be said.
You won't get anything done.
Absolutely. So, Toni, this has been fantastic. I got a lot out of it. I see that there are a lot of thank yous, appreciation going up in the chat box as well. So, thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
We'd love to have you again another time for a refresher.
Okay.
And we will make this a video available on demand at some point in the coming future, so other people can get a chance to take it in as well. And we'll make sure that your contact information is there. And anybody else, if you're not yet a member of the Lean In Marketing or Lean In Marketing MarketHER Circle, we encourage you to join so that you can keep coming to events like this and getting the feedback and thinking about and talking about how you can implement these things into your life, your career, and get that support and social support. And we'll be supporting you as well, Toni. We love what you're doing. We'll be liking and commenting on your social as well. So you're a part of the MarketHER family now.
Oh, great. That's awesome. That's what I didn't have when I started my business. I thought I was the only person doing what I'm doing. And, so yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for coming out, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.